Welcome to OUTdrive, folks. I'm your host, Cliff Callis, and each week I'm bringing you actionable marketing insights you can apply to reach, connect with, and convert rural American consumers. OUTdrive is powered by Callis, a full-service advertising agency with a focus on marketing rural America. Callis offers a wide range of integrated marketing services, including website development, search engine marketing, social media, video, and digital. We develop strategic and creative campaigns to build your brand and your business, and you can learn more about us at ecallis.com. Now join me in the front seat as we head out on the road to success. Let's go. Hey folks, welcome to OUTdrive and our final podcast episode before we transition to what's ahead. Over the past 5.5 years, it's been an honor and a pleasure to serve as the host of what has become a big part of my life personally and professionally, and an equally important part of the marketing mix for Callis, our advertising agency. When we kicked off OUTdrive back in 2020, the pandemic had just exploded on the scene, and we took the opportunity to reach out to a new audience and tout the virtues of living and working in rural America, because we know we have a great way of life here, and we wanted more people to know about it. We did it on a weekly basis through the thoughts and words of over 250 exceptional guests, one of whom is back with us today. Megan Hartman is the president and now owner of Callis, and she has evolved into this role over the past 13 years working at the agency. On January 1st of this year, 2025, Megan and her husband Brandon bought the agency from us, and she is taking it forward into the future. We're excited to watch that happen, and we know that it's only going to get better and better because she's that good. So today, in our final episode, she and I are going to talk about why we launched the podcast in the first place, how we produce it, what it's meant for the agency, and where it's going with a new version in the future. I hope you've enjoyed the content we've produced. It's truly been a labor of love getting to meet and visit with so many successful people with a tie to rural America. Hearing their stories and building new relationships, one of which is the one I've built with Megan, and trusting her to carry forward with our name, our image, and the lives of our valued clients and employees. So with that, let's dive into the OUTdrive story and see where it's headed. Welcome to OUTdrive, Megan.
Thanks, Cliff. Excited to be here.
Well, I'm excited for you too. I got to say, I have mixed feelings about this. Final episode after 250-ish. I tell you what, 5 years went by in a hurry.
Oh my gosh, it does.
It does. In fact, 39 years went by in a hurry. But here we are, and I'm excited about the future of the agency, see where you're going to take it. I'm excited about my future and relaxing a little bit and seeing what's ahead. And let's go back to the beginning of you joining the agency 13 years ago. Tell our audience how you came to Callis.
So I can't believe it's been 13 years, first of all. It seems like yesterday, and it seems like 25 years ago, all in the same. And watching the agency grow has been pretty amazing. But I am from Sedalia and had moved to Springfield to attend Missouri State. It was SMS then. Yes, I've aged myself, but I wanted to be back home closer to family. My younger brother was starting a family. My now husband was here, and a friend of a friend was working for the agency at that time as an account coordinator and put me in touch with you guys. And I was thinking, wow, I came from banking where I was director of operations and managed the day-to-day of all of the different locations in Springfield, Joplin, and Nixa. So the front end and the back end. So I was an operations person, but really had a lot of customer service experience and the business knowledge. And I remember coming into this meeting and thinking, oh, Cliff's going to be like, why are you here? You don't have any marketing experience. And, through the years, we've said so many times, you can teach marketing, but you can't teach those soft skills. You can't teach the people to think about the agency, the client businesses like their own, have that passion for leading our clients to business success. If you find that in people, we can teach those marketing strategies. So 13 years later, I now see what you saw in me when we had that first interview, and excited to take the agency into the future, and definitely appreciate all of the years of mentorship that I got from you and Charlene and everybody else in the agency. It's been pretty amazing.
I agree. It has been pretty amazing. And, things work out and you never know how things are going to fall together. And I remember you telling me that you don't remember saying this, but I remember asking you, what your like long-term goal was. And you said, well, I want to own my own business someday. And so I actually did make a mental note of that at the time
Hmm.
and thought, well, again, you never know.
You never know.
And so it has been a good run, and of course you've done a great job. You've pretty much done every job here,
Hmm.
other than you, like I, don't do any graphic design or
Oh,
web development.
no.
But strategy for sure, and understanding clients' businesses and helping them build a marketing program that works. And I'll just throw a kind of a shout out right now for anybody listening who thinks, well, that seems like a neat place. I'd love to do what they do, but I don't have the marketing experience. To your point, we can teach marketing, we can't teach the
Yeah,
soft skills. So if there's somebody out there that's looking for, a new opportunity, mhartman@ecallis.com.
absolutely.
Always looking for good people because you never know when they're going to come along. You
Yeah.
mentioned watching the growth over the past
Hmm.
13 years, and certainly it's been kind of a roller coaster. Not really a roller coaster, but you saw us go up and then we went down, and
Yeah.
then we've been on a pretty nice growth path ever since then. Really, the last
Hmm.
10 years, and so the trajectory is pointed in the right direction. But looking back over those 13 years, what kind of changes have you seen? What stands out to you?
I think about, what has made the agency successful since 1987, 38 years. And it's embracing new technologies, new trends, keeping up to date, always learning. We've got a team that constantly sends articles about trends in the agency or in really the marketing business world on a daily basis. So I think embracing new trends is really what has made us successful, really truly getting to know our clients and their business and becoming close with them. We're an extension of the team, we're not a vendor. So that I think is what has really made us successful, bringing new ideas to our clients and really just providing them the strategy and the direction to help grow their business so that we can in turn grow ours.
Well, I agree with everything you said there. And I think a lot of it is just basic principles of running a good business. And the technology part of it has been important because, I mean, this industry has revolutionized in the last 38, 9 years. I mean, when we started, and everybody gets tired of me saying this, but we had a computer, but all we did on it was little miniature spreadsheets and some word processing. And, then we bought a Mac. And of course, then the whole digital revolution has occurred.
Yeah.
And if we had not jumped on board with that, we would have been left behind. And, now that AI has jumped up front and center in our business and industry as well as every other one, I love how we're embracing that. And because if you don't, again, I think you might just get left behind. But the focus on client relationships and client satisfaction, exceeding their expectations. I also love how everybody in our business continues to do that on a daily basis. That's very gratifying because I have so many good friendships that started out as business relationships today. And I just know that is the future of the agency. We started the podcast 5.5 years ago. We started talking about it probably 6 years ago
Yeah.
because there was a lot of discussion about podcasts. And one of our peers was doing one. She'd already
Mhm.
done at that time, I think she'd done over 100, which
Yeah.
was really impressive. And others were talking about it. And yet they said at the time, it's just in its infancy. And so just keeping up with the trends, trying to be ahead of things as best we can, that kind of set the foundation for launching a podcast. But why don't you talk about, from your perspective, why did we do it?
It's a great question. I think about, we talked about it for a while and we knew it was a time investment, and could we allocate that number of resources to it, but really looked at this as an opportunity for us to share our message and educate our listeners on rural America and what it means, because it means something different to everybody. Yes, it's dirt roads, but it's also cities. 97% of the United States is considered rural. So, what does that mean? It's a different type of mindset. It's the people we want to do business with, it's who we are. It really resonates with our values. So, that's interwoven into every episode that you have hosted throughout the years, which you've done a really nice job of doing. It's a positioning tool for us. It helped us learn how to produce a podcast so that we can then in turn do it for our clients. So we've got 5.5 years experience from start to finish launching a weekly podcast, which has turned into this year more of a monthly podcast just to help with the transition. But podcasts are growing really fast, and it's a really easy way to get your message out there. And you want to be where your audience is, and they're listening to podcasts, they're watching podcasts, and getting that content in many different ways. It's also a way for us to provide cornerstone content, thinking about ways that we can stay in front of our clients with educational materials, prospects to make their lives easier, to help them learn about the trends. So we put it out on all of the streaming platforms. We have a YouTube channel it lives on. We're posting on social media. It goes out in our regular email. So it's a way to slice and dice content and stay consistent with your message, educate your audience on who you are, and really provide value to our clients and those that we want to do business with.
And that's been a neat part of the podcast ride, I think, is, we've helped clients launch new podcasts.
Yes.
And I know just in discussions around here lately, there's a couple new ones that we are in the process of launching with clients. Talk a little bit about what it looks like. Like maybe there's somebody out there that's thinking, hey, I'd love to have a podcast, but I don't have any idea how to go about it. Talk about launch, branding, the infrastructure, tools, people, processes.
Yeah, anybody could start a podcast with a microphone and recording software. It can be at so many different levels. So I think with us, the first thing that we want to do is sit down with the client and talk through what are the expectations? Who's your audience? What's your story? What's your message? How are you going to stand out? So we do really a mini discovery, and we ask all those questions and talk through what the resources are and the commitments, because you do want to be consistent with your posting. Those are the types of conversations that we have. But developing the brand, so what's the name of the podcast, what's the hook, what's going to get people to listen, developing the logo and the branding that goes with it to make sure it's always consistent, who are going to be the guests, how often are we going to post, what's the format, will there be a video component, will it be just audio, how often, the editing process. It does take a time commitment. I would say we spend anywhere from 15 to 30 hours on each podcast that is produced from start to finish, developing questions, understanding the guests if you go that route, because you really want to know your guests well to be able to ask those probing questions, to get behind why they're doing what they're doing and ask those questions and really, really listening. And it takes a special skill set and an inquisitive host to be successful in a podcast. So, Cliff, I think over the years, you've always done a great job of listening. I've heard you say so many times, we've got 2 ears and one mouth, so we can listen twice as much as we talk. So one of the Cliffisms through the years.
Thank you.
And I think that's a big key, is really truly listening to your guests, asking great questions. But there is a lot of infrastructure that goes into it. Where is it hosting? How is it going to be put out? How is it going to be edited? How clean do you want it? And open and close. So there's so much planning that goes into it. It takes months to get it off the ground, and having a backlog of guests and having a regular schedule. So that's something that we've helped these last two clients get together and plan planned for probably 2 or 3 months and launching in mid-January, February next year. So it's exciting to see all of the work that we have. And it's just, we've got a well-oiled machine. We're very process driven and systems oriented. We've got a process that we go through for every single podcast, and they're pretty similar. But yeah, I think that's the biggest thing is planning ahead, thinking through the audience, thinking about what the strategy is and how you're going to stand out.
Yeah, you got to be different. You got to give people a reason to listen. And then
Hmm.
hopefully you do a good job and you generate some consistent listeners and you grow your audience
Yeah.
over years. And then you get into the whole marketing aspect of it, of how we're
Yes.
going to tell people about this and where
Hmm.
we're going to go with it. It was never our purpose, from my perspective anyway, to grow this to be a Kelsey Brothers level
Yeah.
podcast. I mean, the money would have been nice,
It would.
but ours was more for education and both ours and the audience and developing new relationships and developing powerful content that attracts people to us. And we did accomplish all those things, which I'm proud of. But it's really, for us, it was based on the guests. We had
Hmm.
some incredible guests over the last five and a
Yeah.
half years. When I think back about some of them, I'm like, I can't believe they said yes, but they did. And they came on and they did a great job. That's certainly one of the challenges, I think, for a podcast is where you find the guests. Do you have a couple tips on where to go to get some good ones?
It's a great question. And I'm seeing that now. Well, we saw that with our podcast. We worked our connections. So we think about clients that we've worked with, maybe it's partners that we've worked with. Sometimes it was friends and colleagues in our own team, but it's utilizing your connections. And that's why it's so important to nurture connections and continue on those conversations. We have a podcast that we're launching now that is focusing on rural healthcare, and we have a partnership that's helping put us in contact with those individuals that will be guests. And you said, I can't believe this, some of them came on, and you think about in the infancy when it's a brand new podcast, it's a little harder to get guests because there's not that established following or longevity at the very beginning. But we were able to utilize those connections, those strong relationships that have been built throughout the agency over the years to invite those people on that know you and they know Callis and they know our team and trust that we're going to put out a quality product.
Yeah, I agree. And I think one other one which we should not include is
Mhm.
LinkedIn. Because
Yes.
if you're on LinkedIn on a consistent basis and you're following and you're liking and you're showing interest and maybe even commenting and things, you're going to get fed some content that becomes very relevant. And there were several that people that I never knew
Hmm.
that I just reached out to because I thought, man, you're going to be perfect for our podcast. And then the other thing that happens is
Yes.
as you start to build organically, you start to attract, I'll call them talent agents,
Hmm.
that are repping podcast guests. And these are, I guess, what I'd call professional podcast guests.
Yeah.
But all of them were pretty darn good, and they all had a certain shtick and a message
Hmm.
to communicate, and that sort of made it easier to grow the audience and also to expand the content.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And that really, it happened organically, just from people seeing our podcast or hearing it and reaching out to us directly. I'd say we have quite a few guests that came that way, and there were some really great ones. There were some that we chose to maybe not have on, but there are people that are trying to grow their speaking engagements or their individual personal brand and make those connections, and they do it by appearing on podcasts. So that's a great opportunity as well.
Yeah, and they came from all over the world.
Yeah.
Singapore, London, Canada. Not everywhere, but all over the world.
Yes.
Neat. So on a week to week basis, I would have to admit that it becomes a little bit of a grind.
Yes.
And not so much for me because I was able to have the fortunate part of just talking with people. But the people that produce it, it's one of those things that's always there. Talk about what goes into producing a weekly podcast.
So it is a great question. And it starts with identifying the guests. And that's something that we do together as a team. Cliff, you took a lead quite a bit in that piece. And then getting them scheduled for sure. And then we have a team that writes the questions. You have to do prep on your end because you can't just go into it blind. So, fully understanding the background and pulling out some of those tidbits. We're working with the guests to get a headshot to use for our marketing of the podcast going forward. We're getting bios, working directly with the guest or potentially their assistant or the manager if it's more of that professional type. And then you're recording the podcast, sending it to our editors. We're pretty particular in what we liked for our podcast, taking out any ums and pauses, anything that maybe the guest mentions that they didn't want to have in there, because sometimes you stumble over things. So we're taking those pieces out and putting it together professionally. And then from there, we have a couple people within the agency listen to it and make sure it's up to our standard. And then it's posted on all of the different streaming platforms. YouTube, we're sending it out through all of our social media networks, and it goes to our email list and on our website. We're thinking about, you might be recording a podcast in September that doesn't actually air until December because we're working ahead. It takes a week or two to get the podcast edited and all of that piece done. And you can't always schedule the guest right away. So planning in advance is extremely important. And we always had a plan for at least 3 to 6 weeks out on guests. And we're meeting regularly internally to make sure we've got a guest scheduled and what content's going to go with them. So it's a labor of love and it does take time. And I always want to be transparent about that to a new client that's talking about a podcast. And that's easy. Everybody does a podcast. It is, but what's the quality you want? So that's a big piece of it. And the agency supported a lot of the back end piece for you, Cliff, but it still took a lot of your time. And that's been your focus for the last several years, with also supporting other things within the agency. But yeah,
Yeah, it's a process for
it
sure.
is.
And there are challenges all along the way. You've just
Mm-hmm.
mentioned several of them, but at the same time, what a great opportunity to tell your story in a way that you
Yes.
want to tell it to the
Yep.
people that you want to tell it to.
Yeah.
It's marketing at its finest, I think, in
Yeah.
this day and age. Looking back, what do you think the agency has been able to achieve with the podcast?
I think we've been able to tell our story really well and position ourselves in the rural space. We have a great understanding. We've been able to tell our story. We've been able to have some really amazing guests on that just helps grow our network and has opened the door for new opportunities. And we've gotten business from the podcast. We really have in many different levels, whether it started with just editing a podcast for a client that did all the other piece and turned into a really nice relationship and doing other things for them when they stopped the podcast, to launching two new next year. So, and just expanding our network and providing a lot of really great, valuable content to our listeners. It's something that new hires mention that they've listened to the podcast. We've had opportunities that we maybe wouldn't have because of our work with the podcast. And something that I've loved that we've done is a thank you gift to our guests. It's just a little plaque with their photo and something great that they mentioned when they did their interview, and they can keep it on their desk. And I've heard people say, I look at that from time to time and think of you guys. So I think that's a good key too. What's that follow up and how are you going to stay in front of that potential prospect? And I think we've done a nice job of that. But over 250 episodes, pretty amazing.
Yeah, it's been a good investment. I think it's obviously paid dividends.
Yeah,
Um, but we're getting ready to change it.
we are.
Uh, why now?
It's a natural transition with Cliff, you phasing out, and just how podcasts are changing and staying on top. So we feel like it's really important to include a video component and some quick tips and trends. Still talking about rural America and not going away from any of that, but we really want to have a video standpoint. So it's going to be more of a solo cast with video, still extremely educational, still very consistent like we have been. But I'm excited to see how it continues to evolve and be able to stay on the trends of where podcasts are going. And it's definitely video and really just continuing to be an educational resource for our clients.
It's been a nice transition over these last few months of going from the weekly podcast to the monthly. We've talked about doing video snippets for, I'll say, years, because it's years. And we even actually, if you recall, there was a time where we were investing in producing video snippets, but they were very labor intensive and didn't feel like we could justify the resources trying to put that in front of our client work, which has always been strong.
Yeah.
I'm excited about this evolution to the video component. Shorter, people are getting their information in sound bites.
Yes.
They don't want to spend maybe 30 to 40 minutes listening to a complete podcast, even though people will continue to do that.
Yeah.
But I think this gives you a great opportunity to take this idea and move forward with it. We talked about where the podcast is going. Want to talk at all about where you're heading with the agency?
Absolutely. We've got such an amazing team with us, some that have been around for 10 plus years, some with 30 years experience in the industry, and some new employees that are eager to grow and learn and embrace AI. That's going to be a big piece. You mentioned earlier, if we wouldn't have embraced digital, we wouldn't be here today. And I do feel like that is a big thing that we need to invest our time and resources in, is continuing to embrace artificial intelligence and learn how to use it effectively. Anybody can throw things in ChatGPT, but really learning how to create useful prompts and streamline services and growing our services in the future and the team to really support our client needs and continuing to offer exceptional service and having those relationships continue to be strong and building a great team that has those same values that you've instilled in me over the years is going to be vital to our success. So continuing education, continuing on that growth trajectory that we've set over the past 10 years. My goal is to have the agency be an opportunity for my kids to be involved in if they want to, or future generations. So we're not going anywhere. We're going to be around another 40, 50 years and continue to just change with the times and honor the legacy that you have started.
Thank you. I'm excited to see where you go. Exciting times ahead. And thanks for being on the podcast today and sharing all that and talking about what's ahead in the future. It's been a pleasure. You've done a great job. You are that good.
Thank you, Cliff. It's all to you. Appreciate everything you've done for us.
You're very welcome. So, folks, thanks for tuning in to OUTdrive, whether it's just been for today or every week for the past 5.5 years. It has truly been my pleasure, and I hope you've enjoyed our visit today with Megan Hartman, President and owner of Callis, a full-service strategic marketing, advertising, and public relations partner with clients throughout the Midwest. Come back again next month, as Megan takes you down the road to success.
Thanks for taking a ride with us on OUTdrive. This episode is complete, so head on over to ecallis.com for more insight you can apply to help drive your business growth. And be sure to sign up for our free monthly e-letter, OutThink, for even more helpful content about marketing to rural America. Have a great day and keep on driving.